An excuse to tax. Taxi drivers knock tint crackdown. It's a perfect excuse to tax people. With these words, Secretary of the Port of Spain to San Fernando taxi route Ricky James yesterday expressed his angst at the state's intent to penalize drivers who flout the country's tint laws. Motorists have 6 weeks to ensure their vehicle tints are within the 3 specified limits or face penalties. The front passenger and driver's side windows of a vehicle can be up to 35% VLT, while the rear windows can be 20% maximum. The rear windscreen can be 20% while the front windscreen can be 70%. James argued that tints complement the air conditioning in vehicles and help keep drivers and passengers cool. Several of his colleagues echoed a similar sentiment and defended taxi drivers as law-abiding people who don't engage in crime and should not be subjected to such treatment. They also criticized politicians and prominent people who they said drove around with heavy tints while they were being asked to remove their tints. On the other hand, some people said they would support any measure that would reduce or eliminate crime. At a news conference at the Ministry of National Security, Port of Spain, on Monday, attended by 4 government ministers, it was said that enforcing the penalties for failure to comply with the law was not a revenue-raising venture, but was in fact a crime-fighting measure. A tool known as a visible light transmittance, VLT, measuring device will now be used to measure tints on vehicles, it was announced. Speaking with the Express on Independence Square, Port of Spain, yesterday, James said, "It's a poor excuse by the government to tax people. Why should people have to pay for the government's failures? Tints will not reduce crime. Removal of the tints will not make a difference. It's normal to drive with air conditioning. Some days are very hot. It keeps you cool and the passengers comfortable. It's less pressure to get people to their respective destinations." Chiming in, Amir Ramzaran added, "Waste of time. Criminals and murderers don't move around with heavy tints. They would go for a normal car, so as the young people would say, they won't get make out." Taxi drivers provide a public service. You don't hear about taxi drivers committing murder or taking their cars to kill people. Where you hear about a taxi driver stealing a car to commit a robbery. It does not make sense. They work, treat it as a business. Then they go home because they too are fearful of crime. Ramzaran said he removed his tin around 9 a.m. on Saturday, but noticed his packet of chewing gum had melted by 10 a.m. He said, "If I had my tint, I would not have to buy another pack of chewing gum. I don't have an extra $10 to spare. It's an inconvenience." A Nigerian-born taxi driver said, "They have to bring the machine. Measure the tints. You just can't remove tints anyhow and anytime. I still feel it would be a deterrent if people removed their tints. You can see inside the car." More police needed. On the Curriep taxi stand, a public transport service corporation, PESC, bus driver said, "Why should politicians alone have heavy tints? What about our lives? We are providing a public service. We are out there all the time. We are exposed to all types of people. What about our safety? We should get tints as well. I think it's just a plan to tax people more and more." He added, "Look, rain is falling. Have you seen a police car drive by? There should be more visible police. Don't wait until there is a crime and then a convoy would arrive. Try and keep the people safe as they go about the city." Samson Owadi, another Nigerian minibus driver on the Curriep to town commute, said he didn't believe removing tints will prevent crime. They just want to tax people. Bring the machine and determine who should remove the tints. Most taxi drivers are within the law, he said. At Excellent City Center, Port of Spain, a Creole food restaurateur described the intended law enforcement as madness. They state, just want to make money. A small businessman who deals in coins said he agreed that tints should be removed. The law is the law. The police should be able to see inside a vehicle, but I feel they should have police stationed at different areas. When they determine that someone has to be checked, Maybe put a red sticker. You don't have to pressure everybody and create a backlog. He added, I feel there should be more police in the city. Criminals are not foolish. They know when there are roadblocks. Then in the communities, the police should do frequent patrols. Have an idea where people live, who they are, and what is their modus operandi. It makes it easier to police people. You are not going after everybody. Police should know who should be on their radar. On the Brian Lara promenade, activist Juliet Davey said, they should remove the tints because of the crime situation. It's critical because the PH drivers are the ones people gravitate to after the regular H drivers have gone home. Safety is of paramount importance. She directed her Emancipation Day wishes to the youths and pleaded with them to refrain from crime. She said, get involved in a positive activity. Go to NEDCO and get a grant. Foster Cummings, Youth Development Minister, is helping with grants. Start a business. Don't get involved in crime.